We are going to be recording today's training just to make sure we catch all of the questions and all of the wonderings. If you are, if you know somebody trying to get in the training and they don't have their name as part of their Canvas account, they may get stuck in the waiting room for an extended period of time. So if you start getting text messages about help, I'm not allowed in, it may be because their account doesn't have a name on it. So today's training is really more of a follow-up, a few specific questions that you provided us during the Leadership Summit. We're going to review some needs data, and Shelly's quarterbacking the chat room for us. She is going to be keeping us on track with the Q&A doc as well. And we'll hopefully take pauses all along the way so that we are staying on the same page. A little bit about today's training. You'll see that we're going to model the slide deck that KCSOS provided for us during the Leadership Summit. And the reason for that is, at the very least, it's an effective, straightforward manner to onboard your team with the basics of Canvas. And we're assuming they're also going to be joining us in between now and August 10th or 11th, whenever you decide to start that journey with your team. One of the things that we know about Zoom is a norm that I would suggest for your team as well, because it sounds like we are going to be doing these onboarding meetings from Zoom, is keeping microphones on mute for the team until that time in which we're pausing intermittently or we're having the Q&A session at the end. We'll do our best to slow down and to take time for some questions, but we will try and as best we can follow the mics off and the some of the nonverbal tools as well. So you'll see we're using a lot of the same documents that you saw in Leadership Summit. So we're also going to hop into Canvas itself and look at the sandbox and the support courses. I actually don't have access to either anymore because this transition is occurring, but the point will be able to be made clear in course-specific interactions. So you'll see that in just a minute. Then we'll dive into some notification settings. If you're like some of us, you received 15, 20, 40, 60 email from Canvas. And if that's not something you like to see in your inbox every morning, we're going to help you turn that off. If you're the person who has Canvas calendar appointments showing up in your Google Calendar, we're going to help out with that as well. And then we will look at how might I design my own onboarding PD for my team. And you can see some of the notes there. There's a link to the slide deck we're going to use. There's also a link to the detailed agenda from that day. We'll finish up. Shelly's going to review a few learning fundamentals. These items are just FYIs in case you want to have some background into learning from the distance learning format or to instructing from the distance learning format. So that's there for you. And then we're going to hopefully get some feedback from you so that we can make this interaction time for you even more effective going forward. With that, you can see at the bottom there's several links to videos and to our Canvas page, and we hope you'll join us along in those areas as well. So with that, Shelly, do you want to queue up the Q&A document for us?
Let me unmute myself. Happy Friday, everyone. Do you want to bring up the Q&A or do you want me to share my screen?
Oh, I thought I did. There it is.
There we go. Okay, so this is our Q&A document. Some of you may have seen a similar format before. Right here, what you see at the top are just some instructions to tag a specific person. So if you know your question is going to be addressed to someone specific, you can type their name in the box below and we'll show you that in just a second, but you can actually tag someone, and it will assign that question to them, and it will send them an email notification. So that way you're able to notify the person that you're actually asking the question of, and they will see it and possibly respond sooner. So if you'll scroll down, we'll kind of model this process. These are questions that were taken from the chat from the Leadership Summit. And then over on Wednesday, when we had these 2 trainings, we added those questions. So the document kind of scrolls. You'll have to scroll to the bottom right now. We do have a plan to organize this document into topics, so it's a lot easier to navigate as we move forward. But what we're going to show you on the page you're at right now, we'll just use that first box where the question from Allie Stanley shows up there at the top. You'll notice that I have actually already highlighted my name there in the answer box. And when you're tagging a person in the question, you just highlight, you can highlight anything. You could highlight any part of that text right there, and you click the plus, as Jason's modeling so diligently there, and you type the plus, and then whomever it is that you would like this question to go to. So if it's me, awesome, I will help you out. If that's Jason or if that's Val, and then you click assign, and you just hit the blue assign button. So that's just a quick and easy way if you know exactly who you're addressing that question to. If you don't, we are going to be monitoring this Q&A doc on a regular basis. When we drop answers in, we'll do our best to tag you back so that you know that your question has been answered. But this right now is just a place for any of your Canvas questions or general questions regarding distance learning as we get started. So today, as we move forward, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom and you find you're out of space, let's see if we have some rows down there. This can be a catch for some participants when we use this document. And that last row at the very bottom, if you need more space or we need more rows, if you just click in that last box and hit tab, you can actually create more rows down at the very bottom in the very last one. Or you can right click, as Jason's doing, and hit insert a row. So I think that's it. Did I miss anything,
right.
Jason?
I think I'll add one thing. You can see Karen Crawford put some questions in this morning. We've already responded to them. Elena Carlson put a question in. We did not respond to hers and actually didn't even know that it was there. And so it's a good point of conversation, I think, for us this morning. So when she put this in, she didn't tag anybody, so nobody got an email knowing that she had placed the comment in. So maybe what she could have done is typed something like Shelley ? Maybe she could have highlighted Shelley's name and then assigned it to Shelley like we just discussed. So that is, I think, the big idea of this document is we want to know when the questions arrive, and it takes that tagging piece to make sure we know you've got a question. We'd love
And I'll just add, if we aren't the one that can answer it, we will find the person who can and let them know that that's waiting for you.
Okay. All right, Shelley, thank you very much. How's the chat looking?
Chat is looking good. And I will share the links one more time.
All right, happy Friday to Brandy as well. I see that now coming in. All righty, so let's move into what if I go to my announcements and in Canvas and I don't see any announcements, but I know that I received some because I got some notifications. So clicking into Canvas, let's say I arrive in Canvas, the last place I left off, I don't know, maybe it was my calendar. And I'm trying to figure out where are my announcements at. So I can go to my courses. I can also click this logo up here where it says Superintendent of Schools. That will, in the near future, have a Panama logo. So you'll be able to go up there. That will kind of by default take you back to whatever you set up as kind of the home base. For me right now, it takes me to my dashboard screen. So I don't have these courses published yet. These will be coming soon to all of your Canvas accounts, depending on the grade level that your team teaches. You may see some of them, you may see all of them. These were just updated very, very recently from the county office. I'll use world history and US history as an example. Let's say I'm teaching both of these classes and I get a question from a student. I don't remember where they're from. And so I go into the course and I go into my announcements here from my big blue bar to my announcements. And so I'm going to click in there and look for the announcement. And I see I only have one announcement and it's not the one I'm looking for. And so the difference, I think, for us to remember, if we set up a staff account, let's say we set up like the, who do we see here? Trina. So the Van Horn account for our team. If I'm in a different course and I look for my announcements, I may not see the one from my Van Horn account that I set up. That's okay. I can go back to my dashboard or my home, whichever one I have set up. You'll actually have a little notification at the very, very top of all of this. But if you've dismissed it or for some reason you can't find the announcement notification, you can go into, let's say, the other course and look for your announcements. So it could be that it's in the wrong course or that it, is in your home stream. If I click on the Superintendent Schools logo, you'll see a lot of things start populating over here on the right-hand side, kind of keep you on track so that you don't have to jump back and forth from course to course. So Brian is in the waiting room, it looks like. All right. Thank you, Brian Malavar. Brian Gridiron, I think, is joining us at the moment. Brian, good morning to you. Glad we got you in. Apologize for the delay there. Shelley, anything in the Q&A doc or the chat that you're seeing?
Not right now. We're good to go. I'll just keep dropping the agenda and the Q&A links as other people join.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. So that's a brief clarification on, let's say, a sandbox course versus a support course, or if I'm teaching maybe a history of world history and a US history course and how I might find the various announcements. So the next just real brief clarification is, how do I get rid of all of these Canvas notifications that keep showing up in my inbox, in my Gmail inbox? So the easiest way to go there and to resolve that issue, to find a lot of helpful settings, is to click on my account icon on the big blue bar over here on the left. You may not have a cool little, what is that, Bitmoji? Is that what we call those? In your account yet, but you can fix that too. If you click that, even if there's no picture there, you'll see it pops out with a profile where I can update my picture. It also has notifications, settings, shared content if folks have shared something with me, or even a QR code if I wanted to share my account with someone, let's say on a mobile device. So I'm going to click my notifications setting here, and it's going to take us to kind of a global overview of all the notifications. These notifications, you can see at the very top, have little icons. So either a checkbox, a little clock for a daily summary. The daily summary means at the end of the day or early in the morning, I'm going to get one email, and the email is going to contain all of the notifications that I received for the day. Again, that'll come into your Google email. Or at the end of the week, I can get some notifications, and depending on what this particular activity is, or one of the normal processes in Canvas, you may or may not want to ever receive a notification. So for example, right now, I have my course announcement turned off. A new course, I don't really feel like receiving those. I'd like to receive those when I log into Canvas versus having another thing in my Google inbox. Announcements that I created, I'd like to see a notification right away if it's something that pertains to something that I personally created. As you go down, you can see you can change notifications for discussions or posts or conversations that you might be part of within a course. And then You've got scheduling. So if if you or your staff have appointments working through Canvas and you have someone accept your virtual appointment in Canvas, you can use this. And then the most important one, I think, for a lot of us is calendars. And so if you have calendars checked, you'll start to see calendars from any course that you're signed up for. And for our principals, coaches, and APs that are on the video today, I think all of you should be in our sandbox. So if you had this included, because we're all part of the same course or courses, you would start receiving all of those calendar appointments in your Google Calendar. And that's because Google and Canvas, all of our Panama information is going to become synchronous. And so you'll have your Google Calendar begin to show up on the big blue bar here on the left, as well as your Google email when you click on these tabs. That's a preference thing. You can work in both places, or if, like me, I just prefer to go to my Gmail account and work from there only. So that's a preference thing, but that is one of the questions that we had some confusion on our Monday summit. All right, Shelley, we are going to hop into the designing my own Canvas PD for my site. Before we do that, any questions or any Q&A?
We have nothing new in the chat or the Q&A document at this point.
All right.
You're doing awesome, Jason. Keep it up.
Only a quick coffee sip then for that. So designing my Canvas onboarding site PD. Some things to consider. First and foremost, the really big idea. The really big idea is that from the slides that we'll look at in a minute, we have videos included. And if you wanted to, you could simply play the videos of what you participated in during Leadership Summit. You could pause the videos during the activity times, and you could have created your own activities for staff, or you can have staff do the exact same activities in their Canvas account. They may be in a guest account if they're a brand new hire. Whatever the case may be, they should be able to do the basic activities that you'll see on the video. It would be ideal if you're in a Zoom setting to think about up front, how might I put my team into either random breakout rooms on Zoom or grade level breakout rooms? What activities might I consider if I need to do this from a distance learning format like we are this morning? So you can see the slide deck. If you're not sure where it's at, if you want to follow along, we're going to go to the slide deck in just a minute, and then we'll wrap up with the detailed agenda that contains everything on the slide deck, plus a few extra details if you wanted to add some components to or beyond just what's in the slide deck. So let's jump over to the slide deck. If this was me, I may take this fancy background, I may turn it into my school's background or logo or a picture of our team or whatever the case may be. I can actually click right into this slide deck. So if I make a copy of this, if I go to File, make a copy, and I'm going to copy the entire presentation, that will allow me to own my own copy. I might make a copy, and then I might change the name to whatever my school site is. I'd probably go in here, and if I didn't change anything else, just maybe put my name in there. As I mentioned just a few minutes ago, I think we have a better idea today than we did on Wednesday as to the likelihood of needing to provide our meetings over Zoom. I know there's still some discussion with different memos and different bulletins that are coming out. Nevertheless, I would say plan for the idea of presenting on Zoom. And then if you can do this collectively in a large setting like the NPR at that time, then wonderful. That would be your choice at that time. But I think beginning with the frame of mind that I may need to have all my teachers in their classrooms, and we yell down the halls and cheer for each other or whatever we do while we're doing this onboarding together. So that's just kind of a right off of the bat. I think consider some sort of icebreaker activity if you haven't already spent the morning doing some team building. If nothing else, maybe a short video clip or even just a quote to get folks thinking in the right direction. The more that we can connect, the better we're going to be. Effective filters are really high, as you all know. So the time we spend doing a little laughing or making fun of ourselves and fumbling around with our team, the better off we're going to be getting into some of the specifics together. So boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. So hop right in, start digging away together, and slowly but surely we will make progress and get this beast of distance learning conquered. So you'll see today we've left in the agenda slide. You may decide, yeah, I'm going to do either virtual or in a large format, whatever is applicable. I may just follow the same schedule. It's very simple. The slides are already set up to follow that. Or as I've seen from several principals' agendas already, you may just do the first chunk on Monday, and then the rest of the week, you may do different chunks collectively with the team in Canvas. That's entirely up to you. So I'm going to pause for a second. And Shelley, I don't know, do we have any other comments or questions as we start into some of the content here?
We do not.
Okay. All right. We're moving right along then. So something to consider. Obviously, this is not us. We left it exactly like you saw it on Monday. I believe it was Monday. If you're not connecting with your team, maybe your team sends their pictures in and you create a little picture slide of everyone, or maybe just you and whoever's helping you present have your pictures visually here represented, because if you do have staff at home, or if you are going to use this at a later point in time, the slide deck that you have for your team, it's really helpful to have visual images. Even though you may see each other every day, some on your team may not see each other every day. So just a thought, something to do visually here, whether it's just introducing yourselves or actually making this a team slide with images of some sort, tying in that personalized component there. And then the outcomes. You can see for us, it was about navigating the platform, supporting our users, demonstrating some of the tools, and then the tab for admin, we have not yet gone into because we're just working in the sandbox, taking baby steps along the way. I wouldn't overlook the idea of actually just signing into Canvas. So you may have most of your team who've already created a guest account. They may have the emojis already loaded in, and they may be really dialed in with the basics. My guess is that you'll have one or two for sure who have not yet logged in. So if that's the case, Lord willing, they're just going to use their normal Google login from Panama. But if that's not yet accessible, I'm not saying that's not the case, but worst case scenario, they may just need to take 1 minute and create a guest account. And you might have them do that ahead of time. I think you'll have a lot more information from us before you get to the 10th, just with progress updates. We're expecting that we should be good to go. But you know, the world of IT is a funny place. And if we're working from guest accounts, it's a good thing we have the extra 8 days to get it all sorted out. So that's just a tidbit there on the login. You know, it's up to you and your level of comfort with what a learning management system is. I probably wouldn't spend a whole lot of time. I think the best way to look at learning management systems for our team in Panama is that most of us are somewhat familiar with Google Classroom. And the idea with Google Classroom of assignments and activities, and everybody being in the same space at the same time, working in the same manner, the same path, step one, step two, in an organized fashion. The thing that Canvas adds for us is it adds attendance features, and now Google also has grading features. But the big thing for us is the attendance accounting. So for your teams, when they log in, Synergy and Canvas are going to be speaking with each other unless they're disagreeing, but we believe they do speak with each other. The attendance should be loaded in from Synergy. You should have your class rosters pre-built from Synergy into Canvas, and so that should all work seamlessly together. Much more to come in the week ahead with details on attendance or participation, but just know that in terms of a learning management system, the big idea is like what you have in Google Classroom, which is our content, our tasks, our support documentation, intervention tools, and let's say the links to those live instruction Google Meets or Zooms, depending on what you might be doing. So why do we choose Canvas? This is, you use it if you'd like. We really, in a hybrid setting, would probably have been fine without Canvas, but the moment that we have the state giving us specifics on accounting for live interaction in a distance learning format, all of a sudden the Google side of the house ends up being a lot of work for every teacher and every site administrator and even in the IT department. So the big idea, I think, for Canvas and for us is the accountability features for principals and coaches to be able to figure out which students and which staff are not being successful with interaction, but also just from the teacher level, having a quick view of where my students are progressing or not progressing, who's clicking in which activities, and how much time are they spending offline when I'm not with them. So some of the big ideas there. All right. You'll see this is exactly like you saw on Monday, virtual learning session number 1. You can, if you want, click through these slides just like I'm doing. I'm not in presentation mode. I'm sharing my screen and trusting that that's a big enough visual on your end for you to be able to read it and see it. And if not, then hopefully I would adjust my slides so that I can be successful clicking through. I can also present this and go to presentation mode if I wanted to. I might do that on the next slide, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Each slide has a trimmed version of our training on Monday. So for example, this is virtual learning session 1. And if I wanted, I could click right on it with all of you in the room. All right, and I don't know whether I turned on my audio or not, if you guys are able to hear that. But one of the settings in Zoom is making sure that you have your share and your audio. And so you could, if you're in the distance learning format, show this video. You could pause it where it pauses, do the activities, take a lunch break, come back, however you wanted to. You could work through this video with your staff at different pieces or different chunks. One of the ideas that I've heard is, the video, if I scroll through it, we get into the activities right around, I don't know, 50 something minutes. So I may just make a note in my agenda that we're going to watch, let's say, 53 minutes worth of the video. And that's kind of my first opening activity, because that takes me into the next, whatever the area is that you want to pause or you want to continue. This first session was a long morning session, had some breaks. You could, as I mentioned, just play it and pause it when the normal breaks occur in the video. Or you could decide where you want to stop the video and make your own agenda and work it out, whatever is best for you and your site. But just know that it does follow the same exact format that you had on Monday. In fact, we even have our own Rochelle Montoya, brand new to the team, the PBV family. She loves this thumbnail. She's already given me 2 thumbs up for it. You know, it's a YouTube thing. I'm not, so you could see that the team time and the activity that we did together is also loaded right into this video. I might be fibbing. Yes, I see that, Brandy, just a tad. So you don't have to actually do the activity. You don't have to create one. You can have them do exactly what they see in the video if you chose to do that. And make sure you give Rochelle kudos for the fantastic camera work there. The assignment that we did together was changing your profile picture, creating an announcement. So some thinking here. If it were me and I was putting this together, I may go into my guest account if I'm working from a guest account, or if I have my Panama account by that time. I may make, let's say, a sample assignment or a course even, or a module for my team, depending on my level of comfort. You don't need to do this, but you can. And I may assign this to staff ahead of time. Or you could have them walk through it just like we did together and learn and click together as you saw on Monday. Kind of up to your comfort level and what you think your team is going to be able to do collaboratively. The caution I would say is that simple is definitely preferred. As much as possible in a distance learning format, everything is at least to the power of 2. So if I have a 10-minute assignment that I'm going to do in person, inevitably it's going to be at least a 20-minute assignment to accomplish in a distance learning format in live virtual settings. So just consider the simpler the better when you're looking at what type of assignments, if you're going to deviate from the current idea here. Lunchtime, obviously we love Mr. Lunchtime face there. And then we can get into a scavenger hunt, and we can give you a copy of the same scavenger hunt. You can have Rochelle walk through the idea of the scavenger hunt with you there, and you can make a copy of the form that we shared with everyone on Monday. You could click on the form and recreate your own form for your site, so you have all the data. That's entirely up to you. It's loaded here and accessible for you. And then we see virtual session number 2. And we could, if we wanted to, the same day after lunch, we could the next morning hop into virtual session number 2. I think this recording runs about an hour and a half. So it's up to you. Think about the timing of these things. Think about if you've already been able to bring your staff back before the 10th or not. And if you all haven't been back in the same space before the 10th, maybe this is something that I spend a little time with some team building before diving into some content. That's up to you. That's just an encouragement and a suggestion, the same as we would do with our students, taking care of those basic needs like Wi-Fi and food and safety. So start there and then build into some of Bloom's taxonomy if you see fit. So that's an overview of the slides. And again, something that you could do if given the thumbs up from all the different health officials to do a large group setting, wonderful. If you're going to do it over Zoom, just plan ahead and figure out how you might break that up with the team. Let's see, Shelley, do we have anything in the chat or in the Q&A doc?
Nothing new.
Nothing. It's Friday. All right. So let's look at the detailed agenda. One thing that you did not see on Monday is Chris Persons was working from an agenda that we had spent quite a bit of time over the weekend and the previous week trying to figure out what's the flow that we want to make sure we hit. what are some things that we just want to verbally highlight? And so, for example, we didn't spend really a very much time at all on templates or common curriculum. Part of that is because we didn't at the time have what you see here on my view in Canvas. We didn't have any of these courses into our sandbox yet. So as these courses become refined, Dr. Park and her team are working around the clock to begin shaping this content into our content, using the same structure and skeleton that the county courses have designed. So those will start to be populated. And as that occurs, you can and we will also spend some time in how do we build those modules, what are the must-dos and the should-dos, and what does that day-to-day schedule look like? I know that's coming very soon to a school and an email box near you. So hang tight with some of that information. I apologize. It is just being finalized as we speak. You would know that we did spend quite a bit of time on the dashboard and the big blue bar, the 3 Bs there. You'll know that we also paused, and as our friend Chris Persons, my friends, let's kick the tires, as he would say. So that is where he paused in the video. He allowed everyone to just click around, change their profile picture if they wanted to, or just kind of get comfortable. And so if you were using the county's video, you would see that was the manner in which he stepped through the learning progression. You can see some of the basic links. We have a Canvas website of our own now. You receive that in email. You may have some of these links that you choose to say, hey, we're going to get together on the 10th. Before we do that, please make sure you view maybe this 6-minute overview video, maybe the ed tech demo, or maybe one of the videos that you see attached to our website. Or if you've got your own favorite video that you found on YouTube that helps with really basic level information, feel free to use that as well. All right, I'm gonna hit the pause button, take a sip of coffee. Shelly, anything in the Q&A or the chat?
In the Q&A and chat, we've been discussing a little bit about Zoom and attendance and which would we prefer to use with students versus adults when it comes to the video conferencing. Would that be Google Meet? Would that be Zoom? And will we have a full integration of Zoom? What does that look like is kind of what's going on a little bit in the background.
All right, so the short answer is Google Meet is a safe play. We know that it's integrated 100% with Chromebooks. I have a working theory with a few of my colleagues right now that the Chromebooks work more effectively on video and Meet. That's unofficial news. I don't know that it's true. It's a working theory. I'm doing some testing with that. If we are able to establish that that's the case, we will definitely almost inevitably focus on Google Meet. Both are going to be available. So especially in the intermediate and junior high level, Google or Zoom is something that users, so the students, have more skill and might be more successful with if they have enough skill. The reason we have Google Meet as our standard is because at the student level on the Chromebook, from their side of the fence, it's the quickest, most equitable platform to make connections between students and teachers. It also, from Chris's opinion, and I think my understanding of Canvas at this point, is that from the Canvas platform, it's the fewest clicks and buttons and saving videos and putting everything into modules. It's the fewest steps, maybe the cleanest way to go, but it's a preference thing. So unless we hear otherwise, at this point, there'll be a preference of the Zoom or of the Google Meets.
So then, Jason, if I can ask my specific question a little more pointed, with Meet, then I know in the Q&A I asked which direction would we move going forward, and they provided kind of a tool that showed that there was an auto collect feature for attendance via Zoom. So my request would be, if we're leaning towards Meet, that we wouldn't. I'm just trying to look and see what ease of use will be for teachers. And so, like you said, I'd prefer we have some kind of differentiation with, Zoom for adults or Meet for teachers. But then also, if we do enable that kind of widget feature, it looks like, that would allow for auto capture of attendance. My fear is that we're then providing mixed messages as to what the preferred platform is moving forward.
All right, Mike, thank you very much. I'm going to head back to our Q&A doc. Michael, if you could log that for us. I'm not going to really get too far into the question with everybody else participating today, but I do appreciate the suggestion in terms of which widgets or which apps are integrated and which aren't. And hopefully we can have a little more specificity when we get closer into an actual Panama Canvas instance. So we will be working through that, and definitely would like to have the simplest path toward daily participation and daily attendance, whether that's Zoom or Meet or whatever that happens to be. So thank you, Michael. I appreciate that suggestion. All right, Shelley, anything else in the chat room or in the Q&A doc? Uh-oh.
I will remember to turn myself off of mute. Sorry. We're still just focusing on the Google Meet piece. We're good to go, though.
All right, fantastic. So PD versus via Canvas or in person. We started out with that kind of quandary, that question to think about, keep in the back of your mind. I think more so than on Wednesday when we provided this follow-up, it looks like it may be in Zoom that we do this welcome back with staff. It may be in Canvas, it might be in person. I think if we prepare to do it via Zoom, similar to what you saw on Monday in the Leadership Summit, you've got kind of a first step in a safe, reliable setting. And if you go further than that or make changes to that, that'll just be at your own comfort level, I think. All right, so if we have no other questions on the basics of working through the slide deck with our team, or some of the Canvas basics, then Shelley, do you want to take us into a few of the distance learning fundamentals?
Sure thing. Will you bring up the page?
All right, distance learning document. We're coming live to you from PBBU today at Tevis, so I apologize for some of the background noise.
So as we moved forward with our distance learning courses, one of the things we wanted to provide for our participants definitely was a base knowledge of what distance learning looks like and some of the language that we use with distance learning. Some of the terminology can be different, and we want to make sure we're all on the same page. These are clips pulled from the website that we provided for participants. Most of them were taken from Google Education, and they have their own distance learning courses there. So at the top of this document, you see a brief description of what distance learning is. And then Jason, if you'll scroll down a little bit, we provide some definitions of the difference between synchronous and asynchronous instruction. Those two terms may be new to some of our teachers. And then what it looks like to schedule this remote learning, what's needed for students in the background for that synchronous instruction. So there's some thoughts and examples there of what that looks like, including examples from classrooms. And then I think if you scroll all the way down, this connection piece is a big piece. We work as educators to communicate with our parents and with their families and with our students on a regular basis, but the need for that now is even greater. And so working to maintain that connection with our families and with our students. So as we're using right now, the Q&A doc and the background doc, trying to keep discussion moving forward, you know, with our older students, how can teachers use students and allow them to participate in that process of maybe even running a back channel? How are we using Parent Square to communicate? What does this look like? Just thinking through all the ways that we can keep that connection with our families and with our students, and establishing that, especially up front. When we went home in the fall, most of us had already made those connections with our families, and now we're having, if we're working from a distance, we're going to be working even harder to establish that as we start the school year. And I think that's all that's here. If we scroll down, I don't remember.
Let's see.
Oh, there we go. And then also the idea of access. That is another big piece. So it was always an issue that we needed to keep in the forefront, meeting the needs of our students, social emotional, meeting, looking at their 504s and their IEPs, all of those pieces. But now we have this new instrument of the device and what that looks like. And the nice thing is it has a lot of tools. We have a lot of things at our fingertips. Canvas has a lot of built-in accessibility features for language. But we just need to keep in mind that there's a lot of things that have to happen before the learning takes place. And we need to, as Jason said earlier, really move along that Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So this is here for you. If you want to use this, you are more than welcome to, or even just send it out to your teachers. That's available for you.
All right, thank you very much, Shelley. Another component, again, to clarify number 5 on the agenda, the fundamentals. This isn't required for your staff meetings. This isn't required for any of the next steps you're going to take with Canvas. But if you are interested in being more comfortable, let's say, with what distance learning looks like, what does good look like, what are the important pieces, that's why we've included number 5 in the agenda. So I think the last document we'll look at is what we call our 3 pillars. These pillars are at various levels of understanding. But on the most basic level, as Shelley mentioned, that learner connection being number 1. More than ever, our parents and our students need to know when we're going to be available to them, so that they have the confidence that if I need help, I know when, exactly when this week, I can make a connection with my teacher. And when we make connection, if at all possible, using video to do that, if not in person. There's the second pillar is managing the learning, and what that means, whether it's from the materials or on the teacher's end or on the student's end, and really thinking about how in the instructional core design of the student and the teacher and the content, what is the actual task? That's the interaction of all of that. And so I'm designing that in the learning management side of it. And then I'm facilitating, I'm designing that engagement of the student. And so those are really the 3 pillars for distance learning. There's a lot to that at each level, kind of the core, the foundational, and the deep execution pieces. And you'll see the levels 1 and 2 and level 3 coming out soon if you were to visit the distance learning website. We have content, speaking of websites, that we've added to the Canvas site that you probably received an email yesterday. What I mean by that is as you look through this Canvas site, you can see today's notes and or next week's links and notes. You can see the detailed agenda here, including the recording of Wednesday's follow-up PD. And then as you go forward, you'll see these videos that you're engaging in today begin to appear here. You'll also see some frequently asked questions and content that'll be loaded into this frequently asked document. For example, if I scroll down, there, Troy asked a question. If I'm working with my team, is there anything else besides Canvas that we can do to support the team? You can work through the distance learning website that we just talked about, or if you wanted to not work in, let's say, the Google Classroom world, we added a document here that we'll also put on the website. But basically, I can walk through the main components of the very first level in distance learning, which is how do I get to know, how do I make a communication? How do I use Parent Square? And how do I add links in Parent Square? And what are the big ideas that I need to know how to do for the very first step? So this is all supplemental materials. None of it's required for your Welcome Back with staff. But if your coach or you would like to add additional pieces to that week or to the onboarding process, there's a few ideas there. Finally, you can see we've added the calendar, the detailed calendar here down below, as well as the basic onboarding videos from the county. So each of these components have a video that go along with them relating to Canvas, and you can find all of them there if you'd like to dig into that. Finally, if you'd like to give us some feedback, this is a follow-up from content you already received, but we'd still like to improve. We'd love to get better. Our purpose really is to lead with learning. It's tough to lead with learning if you don't know how to tweak what you're doing and get better every time. So that's our goal. If you wouldn't mind giving us some feedback, if you can think of something that would be helpful for us, we'd love to receive that. I think with that, Shelley, are we looking on time? We have a few minutes.
We are about 9 minutes ahead of schedule, and I'm not seeing anything new in the chat or in the Q&A document.
All right, well, I'm going to stop the recording now. We're going to hang around for a few minutes if you want to follow up with some conversation, but this is the basic follow-up support to Monday's Leadership Summit. So we hope that you have a wonderful weekend if you're going to sign off, and we hope that you have a successful journey on the next steps with Canvas. Shelley, thank you very much for helping us quarterback the chat room and the different components behind the screen. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Happy Friday.